All right, it's all set and done here on Africa Sports Network. Welcome to Around the MLS show with Sam, week 11 edition of this program as we gradually, get into the stride of the Major League Soccer 2023 regular season. All right, Ben Olsen, Houston Dynamo manager. Happy birthday. Oh, salute. Cheers for you. You've been doing it. 4 games in a row at home, yet to concede a goal, yet to lose
Yes,
a
sir.
game at the Shell Energy Stadium. And also, LAFC are back to the finals of the Champions League here in CONCACAF after they trashed Philly Union 3-0 to win 4-1 on aggregate. The trash Philly Union, they showed that LAFC is one of the best teams here in the Major League Soccer. All right, so after the bye weekend, LAFC, Philly Union, and Dynamo are back to domestic scene. While LAFC is still unbeaten in the league, Dennis Boange can't stop scoring. He scored in the second leg of the Champions League game against Philly Union. Week 10 gave us 26 goals, 6 draws, and 3 away wins. So how many goals do you think we're going to record in week 11? Now, I have my man here, Chris Cartos, joining me on today's show for us to chop up Slides, Kimbo Slides, right? All that we transfer with 11. Chris Cartos, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sam. It's a privilege to be back in the show. A lot has been happening in the MLS. It's been more exciting week in, week out. And we're looking forward to see week 11 happen in another amazing way we have witnessed in the previous weeks with a lot of goals, a lot of actions, and a lot of upsets. And we have beautiful matchups to make this week amazing.
All right, that makes this so amazing in this week 11. Like I said earlier, week 10 gave us 26 goals, 6 draws, and 3 away wins. So when you look at all the matchups in week 11, how many goals are you predicting this week 11?
Well, it depends. The features are really, really interesting when you look at the features. They're beautiful teams with a lot of goal scoring abilities. Atlanta is going to play Inter Milan. Sorry, I say Inter Milan.
Inter Miami.
Inter Miami. So Atlanta is going to play Inter Miami. It's going to be beautiful. Atlanta will be scoring goals easily this season. And LAFC, San Jose is going to be very interesting. LAFC definitely the best team in the league week in, week out, showing so much class, so much performance with their playing. And their performer San Jose also is also a good team. If you check the stats right now, San Jose is fifth on the Western Conference, so they're doing a whole lot. They're doing very good, while AFC is number 3 on that table. So it's going to be very interesting when you look at all the roundups and all the games are going to be playing. Houston Dynamo will be playing Real Salt Lake. Houston Dynamo hasn't beaten Real Salt Lake in 10 meetings, so that's going to be very interesting. Let's see what the new coach Ben Olsen can do, if he can break that jinx and bring Dynamo current by defeating Real Salt Lake, breaking that 10-year game span, and who knows what can happen. St. Louis, Dallas, that's going to be very, very interesting. And so many other games, so many features. And I give it up to you now. What do you think about the games that are going to be played?
All right, like you said, so many interesting fixtures in this week 11. We're going to take it game by game and see what fans should be expecting in each matchup in this week 11. For example, Atlanta going to play Inter Miami. In week 10, Atlanta were tamed by Nashville. And we have Ali Mokhtar, getting his MVP mojo back. All the 3 goals that Nashville scored against ATL, Hani Mokhtar signature was on those goals. And also, Kai Kamara, young man, 10 stop scoring for Chicago Fire for the MLS. Last week in week 10, he got his 143rd career MLS goal. And then when you look at how old Kai Kamara is, 38 years of age, and he cannot stop scoring. So it will be a great matchup for Chicago Fire. And like you said, LAFC, one of the best attacking team in the league. And also when you have the financial muscle and you have the right recruiting team, you're going to recruit very good. When Dennis Boanga came from Friendly to the MLS, not everybody knows who Dennis Boanga is. He is from Gabon. I never knew he's from Gabon. I have to go and research him. But look at 12 goals in 12 games for LAFC and an important attacking piece for that team. So LAFC, the best attacking team now in the league, still unbeaten. this season. Right, let's start with Houston Dynamo game against Real Salt Lake. Like I said, Benosin, happy birthday. What a birthday gift it would be for you to get 3 points at home. I was in the pre-match conference with Benosin, and I asked him, like, Real Salt Lake has not lost to Dynamo in 10 games. And the last time Dynamo beat Real Salt Lake was, I think, 2017. So even though he wasn't the man in charge, how will it feel for him to break that duck? And this is what Benosin has to tell us about that question. Happy birthday, first of all, and it will be a great birthday gift to get away.
Sam, how old do you think I am?
What do you say?
How old do you think I am?
I mean, your late 40s or early 50s.
Perfect.
Yeah. Happy
46.
birthday.
46.
46. Okay. It's the prime age. Okay. You are 4 out of 4 at home here at Serenity Stadium, yet to concede a goal. What a wonderful backline and the entire team we have. But Houston are yet to beat Real Salt Lake in 10 games. And in fact, Real Salt Lake in Houston is one of their unbeaten run in the entire franchise this round. You're not here when that history started. How will it look to you to break that, James?
I didn't know that stat. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. They are, they're always a tough out. I think they're in particular more of a tough out in now that Pablo Mastroeni is their head coach. I know him very well. I played with him. I consider him a good friend. And I also consider him a very good coach. And his teams play hard. They're hard to break down. They've got some very good individuals on the offensive end who can make plays and make the difference. So that's a really good combo to have success in this league. Again, defensively sound, a group that works very hard. You have to earn goals against them, and a team with some game changers. It's a very, really good recipe. And so I expect a very good team to show up here. I think they understand that what we're about. I think we have a pretty good understanding of how they go about the game. It's not much different. I think some of the when I look at how we play and how they play, there's a lot of similarities. So again, I think it'll be a fairly tactical game, and we'll have to be at our best on the.
Right, welcome back. That was Benosin. You heard him talking about how great Real Salt Lake is. What a great coach, and Don Mastrano. What a great coach they have in that man, and they're doing wonderfully well for Real Salt Lake. But when you look at Real Salt Lake, when you look at the way they play, even they play the goalless draw against Seattle in week 10, that showed that they are well organized, just like Benosin said. They articulate their passes, every move they make. But now you are coming to Houston that have not lost in 4 games at home, get to concede here at Shell Kennedy Stadium. You think that Real Salt Lake attack will be that attack that will test the resolute defense line of Houston Dynamo?
Well, it's going to be a very interesting game. It's just going to be sad that Real Salt Lake is going to be playing with their player Pablo Ruiz. I got a red card in the 90th minute against Seattle Sundowns. That might be a blow to the team. But the team, as you said, the team has been playing in a way that they have met, Houston Dynamo for 10 times, and the Dynamo has never beaten them, So it's going to be a tough task, But so far, Dynamo has been impressing the way they have been playing. They have been getting stronger week in, week out. You can tell that the team is beginning to gel together as a team, the way they have been playing, Not so exciting football, but result-oriented. And that's what matters. A team that is result-oriented is a team that everybody wants to be around with. Real Salt Lake right now presently happens to be on the 10th on the league, and the Western Conference, while Dynamo is doing better than them on the 6th. Dynamo is 6th on the Western Conference table. So right now on paper, Houston Dynamo is doing way better than Real Salt Lake. As I said, they also had a red card in the last game against Seattle Sundowns. So Houston Dynamo playing at home as well too have a big edge over Real Salt Lake. And who knows, they might just finally get that 3 points against them and, celebrate it in grand style at home.
Yeah, Dynamo just signed this young, vibrant Nigerian striker, Ali Ibrahim from Croatia. And I asked Benosin, what are his thoughts, what are his thoughts about Ali Ibrahim? This is what Benosin had to tell us about that.
Ibrahim is a player that has been playing as a 9 and a winger for his club in Europe. And I think he can give us options in both of those spots. I watching him on tape, I think he's going to be more of a 9, but I don't know. We'll get him in our system and we'll see what he looks like in both. We know he has the qualities to have success in this league. He's got pace, he's got good hold-up play. I think he's tactically pretty sound, and he'll be able to adapt to what we ask of him on both sides of the ball. So we're really looking forward to get him in here. We're looking forward to Eric coming back into the fold. So as we now have all these games, it's important to get all these bodies healthy and up to speed as quick as possible so they can help us during this stretch. But hopefully he can help us in the goal scoring area. We know he has a sense in and around the box. He knows how to get on the end of things in a variety of different.
Yeah, that was Benosin talking about Ali Ibrahim, Nigerian under-20 player that was signed by Dynamo before the close of the transfer window. Right, let's go to the game between Nashville and Chicago Fire. Like I said earlier, Kai Kamara, can't stop scoring at 38 years of age. He is still power and strong in the MLS. 143 career MLS goals for 10 MLS clubs. And then at 38 years of age, Kai Kamara can't stop scoring. With Kai Kamara still scoring, Chicago Fire, at home, they played a 1-1 draw in 10 against Red Bulls of New York, while Nashville trashed Atlanta 3-1 at home with Hani Mukhtar, participating in all the 3 goals they scored. They scored against Atlanta. How do you see this game between Nashville and Chicago Fire going? Because Chicago on the road, Nashville at home, great team at home play.
Well, it's going to be very interesting because, Nashville beat Atlanta United 3-1, courtesy of Fafa Picault, Theo Bonny, and Jacob Schaffenberg. They scored 3 goals against Atlanta United. Nashville seems to be a team that also is thinking and getting better by the game week in, week out, especially with the inclusion of Fafa Picault that was signed last season or this season from Houston Dynamo. Seems to be finding his feet playing in Nashville. So, man, when you go back to Chicago Fire, talk about Kai Kamara. Kai Kamara right now is just having one of the best seasons of his life. Forget about his age. He's not just scoring; he's scoring amazing goals.
Amazing goals, my brother. Amazing.
He can't stop scoring. So I can look at you, see Kai Kamara. That's the man here, man.
You see. Oh, hold on. That jersey, put that in mind. Yeah, I mean, Chris, you have to promise Africa Sports Network fans that you will drag Kai Kamara to this podcast.
Yeah, sure. That's right.
Hanging right there behind you. You cannot talk to one of the greatest African players to have greatest league.
He is the greatest. He is the greatest. Not one of. He is the greatest. There's no one in the league. He's the greatest African to play in this league.
Yeah, play for MLS. Well, now I have a song before I talk about Kai Kamara. It's called African Giant Chris Carter. Let's dedicate a song to Kai Kamara.
Yeah, dedicated to Kai Kamara. We're proud of him, the only African to achieve that feat in the MLS. 143 and counting. No, I just end up being the highest goal scorer ever in the MLS. See, I'm so excited my microphone is calling because I'm dancing to that song. Let's go.
So here comes the African giant. Many people don't try. African
Right,
giant.
Giant.
Emi
You look
Omolo.
at the MLS,
Yeah. Sorry,
yes.
I need to interrupt you. That's King Net. Kai Kamara. Kai
Oh,
Kamara.
yeah. That was
Oh,
like
yeah,
of the Montreal, right?
Signed jersey from Kai Kamara himself, the legend himself.
The legend himself, Kai Kamara, African giant, 4 MLS goals, 14 MLS clubs, and now he's leading Chicago Fire to Nashville. Chicago Fire has not lost to Nashville in game, and that game between Nashville and Chicago Fire, what would you take on that?
It's going to be very interesting knowing the fact that Nashville is doing very well. Nashville beat Atlanta United 3-1, and we all know that Chicago beat drew with New York Red Bulls by 1-1. 1-1 was a draw.
Yeah,
but when
1-1.
you check the Eastern Conference, you can find out that Nashville is doing very well. They are fourth on the league, very strong, and Chicago Fire happens to be 11th on that same league. Even if they are playing well, guys scoring, they have a lot of work to do. They have to perform well. They have to score more goals and win more games, and that's going to be very interesting because now Nashville versus Chicago is going to be the lives of Mukhtar versus Kai Kamara. So it's going to be a beautiful game to watching those two guys slug it out among those two teams because Harid Mukhtar, he's the brain and the engine behind Nashville and every move they make. If he doesn't score, he's the one creating those chances, the one passing those balls. And Kai Kamara just happens to be at the right place at the right time anytime the ball comes for Chicago Fire, scoring beautiful goals, making it look so easy the way he scores that goal. So it's going to be one of the games I personally want to watch come this weekend because I know it's going to be a beautiful game.
Yeah, I personally want to watch that game between Chicago Fire and Nashville. Now, LA Galaxy at home to Colorado Rapids. LA Galaxy beaten 2-0 by Orlando in week 10, while Colorado Rapids and Fire blank at Vancouver in their goalless draw. And it seems LA Galaxy are back to their early season huffing and puffing. Just 6 points from their opening 9 games this season. LA Galaxy are having one of their best run, one of their worst run in their franchise history. And when you look at Chicharito, their star player, injury has limited him to less than 5 games, not up to 240 minutes. In those, I think 4 of 3 games he has played, only 1 goal. And when you look at another player, Ricky Puig, has not, 8 games now, 8 starts, just 1 goal. So when your superstars are underperforming, most definitely the team will underperform. What's your take on that?
Yeah, just you said it already. LA Galaxy has been having their worst performance ever in the franchise history. But guess what? I'm excited because, man, I'm an LAFC fan. We want that Galaxy. We want LA Galaxy to go down because it should be called Casting Galaxy, not LA Galaxy. There's only one team in LA, and that's LAFC. So man, you have
LA Galaxy, LAFC.
No, let's be honest. Let's be honest. When you go look at it, right? When you go to California, LA Galaxy Stadium is located in Carson, not in LA.
Carson is where?
So how is he an LA team when he's in Carson? He's a Carson team, not an LA team.
I would have your man. I have your man Chris right here. Your man, what's his name? Louis. That had the LAFC fan. Let's go to Cincinnati.
Go ahead.
FC Cincy in that Eastern Conference tabletop clash against the Revs in week 10, they live up to the hype, getting a point at Gillette Stadium, a stadium that is very, very difficult to get a point. And FC Cincy are yet to lose at home at the TQL. Now they'll be hosting DC that trashed Charlotte FC 3-0. Christian Benteke, a world-class basket kick goal in that game. And that was a reminiscence of when Rooney's Manchester Derby goal, and Rooney is their manager. So I believe that kick would have kind of, sent him back down memory lane for him to remember the goal he scored, right?
Very, very true. Benteke, well-taken goal. Benteke has always been a beautiful striker in time in the Premier League and also for Belgium at the time, It's just very surprising how his career dwindled so soon. He didn't get to his to his potential, the way he started, But Benteke has always been one of those strikers that you don't want to give him those opportunities in front of goal. He has a way of making it count. And so far for DC, he's doing it for DC. DC has been last season. DC has been struggling, but now you can see that DC and the coach Wayne Rooney, they are beginning to understand themselves. DC right now is now and seventh on the Eastern Conference table. As against last season, which they did woefully. So you can see that the team is blending better together. They are beginning to understand themselves well, and Benteke has begun to score goals too, and that's what is counting for DC. So kudos to Wayne Rooney, and kudos for Benteke for reminding Wayne Rooney how
About
dangerous he used to
bicycle
be
kick, though.
back in those days with that beautiful bicycle kick. What a
And
goal!
the Eastern Conference, FC Cincinnati are second in the Eastern Conference, tied on points with New England Revolution, 21 points from 10 games, while DC are seventh, 14 points from 10 games. When both teams met last October, FC Cincinnati trashed DC 5-2. Right, let's listen to Pat Noonan, coach of FC Cincinnati, during his pre-match conference.
You got a manager that's more time with the group, a preseason with the group, that obviously knows the league and knows how to win. But I think defensively, very organized. You can see the improvements on that side of the ball. But they've won 3 in a row, and 4 in a row if you're including the cup game. They're in good form, and
Right, so that was Pat Noonan during the pre-match conference against DC, and that would be a very, very tough game. Right, let's go to Sporting Kansas against Seattle Sounders. Sporting Kansas, the only team that are yet to win this season. The only team that have the fewest number of goals scored in the MLS, I think 3 goals in the opening 10 games. Even their captain, Johnny Russell, said he doesn't have to fix this. Let's hear what Johnny Russell said.
I'm going to be completely honest. We just don't look anything like the team that we were. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how to fix it.
That was Johnny Russell locker room interview after their return. They lost to CF de Montreal 2-0 at their home turf. I thought that game was a game that they could use to pacify their fans, but they couldn't just do that. And they lost. Said he doesn't know how to fix it. Yes, he doesn't know how to fix it. He's not being honest. Now they are on the road against Seattle, topping the Western Conference. Great team with great player Jordan Morris, the highest goal scorer right now in the MLS. And also, when you look at the pieces of Seattle Sounders, it would be a tough matchup for Sporting Kansas. And injury, William Magada out for 12 weeks due to injury and the surgery he has done to correct 1 or 2 issues. I mean, I still see Sporting Kansas search for their first season win stretch into the 12th game. All right, welcome back to the show. This is Around the MLS show with Sam here on Africa Sports Network, hanging out with my man Chris Cartos on today. I mean, it's Cinco de Mayo's weekend, bro. So I have checked through my social circle. I think I'm going to get me a Hispanic friend because now I need to eat a big, large enchilada. What do you think, Chris? Like for real. I need to get me a Hispanic friend. I need to get me a Hispanic friend.
Spanish people, they know how to party the most, man. You need to get some Spanish friends. I have quite a lot of Spanish friends. They are the best, man. Trust me. They are the best.
Those guys, they know how to party. They know how to turn the party up. Like for real.
Yeah, they know how to
Now weekend, I want to eat, and I'm off this weekend from my regular job. So I'm going to eat a big fat enchilada. Big one. You know that. Like, got every cilantro, onion, everything. Sharp bite. I'm for that for it because it's week 11 in the MLS and a lot of matchups in the MLS. Seattle Sounders at home to Sporting Kansas. Yes, let's come back to that game. Sporting Kansas against Seattle Sounders. Sporting Kansas this season, they have been overwhelmingly underachieving. I don't know how I can explain, their performance on the pitch. where to go from here. You know, if you're in that locker room, Chris, how will you be feeling?
Well, it's quite unfortunate because Sporting Kansas have played very good football this season, but it just can't seem to get a result. You know, it's a problem that we haven't since the beginning of this season, and it doesn't really reciprocate to their performance because their performance has been not so bad, but they just keep on losing games. So hopefully, I hope they'll be able to rectify the issue with what they are, with the way they have been playing. And you know when the Sporting Kansas is going to play this weekend, it's gonna be difficult for them because they're going to play a very good team this weekend. They're going to play Seattle Sounders. Seattle Sounders with Morris right now being the highest scorer in the league.
Yes,
Morris. It's like a slaughterhouse. Those guys are beating teams for. You know, those guys are you don't want to just play with those guys, Seattle Sounders right now. They seem to be in a league of their own. Only LAFC seem to be a team that can reach that feat of being that league of teams right now. Tell you how complete the Sundowns team has been this season. I think it's going to be another demolition of Sporting Kansas. Sorry to say that, but I don't see Sporting Kansas having hope in that game against Seattle Sundowns.
With the mango. Mother was saying, with the mango, you know, when they are against Seattle Sounders. Remember, early this season, Seattle trashed Sporting Kansas 4-1 on their home court.
Yeah.
And that was when Delamore scored 4 goals in that game, right? Remember?
Yeah.
He went mistake and scored 4 goals in that game. Now they are coming to Lumen Field. That is a fortress for Seattle Sounders. Even though you are on the road in return, they play the goalless draw against Real Salt Lake. But then when you see Real Salt Lake and Sporting and Seattle, it's a matchup, you know. But now they are hosting a Sporting Kansas that are yet to win a game this season. I think they are the only team that are yet to get 3 points in the game this season. They are the only team that has scored fewer goals, 3 goals in their first opening 10 matches. You know. So I was opportune to speak to Josh Garden, former player for Sporting KC. And this is his take on the current situation here in Sporting Kansas. Josh Garden.
It's the way it is, man. I mean, listen, you go back to last year, you lost Gadi Kinda, you lost Polito. Who else did they lose? I feel like they lost somebody else, right? So you're now going back and these guys are now getting fit and healthy. And now you're trying to create that identity that you had when you brought them in. And Sporting for me always started a little slower than most clubs because, you know, they were always trying to put their stamp on how they wanted to play in their style. And now they've come into the league is constantly changing. Right. And I think that's why it's so unique and so difficult that, you know, you're playing against teams that are now stronger. Right. You look at the LAFCs, you look at, you know, the LA Galaxies of this world. Right. Like those two markets, man, those teams are constantly changing.
They have money. They have the money to bring in players.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I think, you know, I think they are young though. I mean, some of those kids on the Sporting's roster, I coached when they were at the academy. So Felipe Hernandez, Cam Duke, you know, those are guys are getting, you know, minutes with the first team. And so every year you don't want to rebuild and constantly change. And I think that's what we've done in Houston for a few years is we've been trying to figure out what's going to fit. I think Ben Olsen's done a great job of, you know, kind of creating a little bit more stability. Hopefully the squad continues to get better, but with Sporting, man, it's tough, man. You can be the better team on the day and not create any chances.
I mean, the worst team in mid-season. All right, before we wrap it up, you know, let's talk about your tryout. Like I think today is going on. Today is Monday. Maybe when this program may air, you know, it might be like tomorrow or next. But your tryouts, you know, the tryouts you're hosting for your team, and how is it going? You know, how are you going?
But you know, when you look at the MLS, sometimes you just wonder, you know, which of the conference, you know, have a better team, the East or the West.
I think honestly, like to be honest, the leagues both Western and Eastern Conference are very, very competitive. But I think the Western Conference have a tougher task because the teams in the Western Conference seem to be teams that are very, very dangerous to play. They are very, very good. The Western Conference is also good, but I think the Western Conference have the Eastern Conference is also good. Sorry, but I think the Western Conference have better teams.
Well, I think when you look at this season, I think Eastern Conference is having a better run. When you look at how many points Eastern Conference have taken in the last 10 games, their top teams like New England Rams, 21 points from 10 games. Then you got Seattle, who are topping in the Western Conference, 20 points from the same number of games, just a point difference. So let's say this should end right now. New England Rams.
Let me interrupt you. Let's be honest. Look at the Eastern Conference. What teams are on the Eastern Conference? Be honest. Give me the 5 best teams on the Eastern Conference.
You have New England Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
You have FC Cincinnati. You have Atlanta. You have Nash. You have the New York City Football Club. And remember, New York City Football Club won the.
Wait. I'm not done. I'm not done. No, wait.
Okay.
Now let's go to the Western Conference. Give me the 5 best teams in the Western Conference.
LAFC, Seattle, FC Dallas, St. Louis, and San Jose.
Okay, so
but
now
hold on. San Jose.
Wait. I'm going somewhere. I'm beating
all right. Keep coming.
So go back to the Eastern Conference. What is the last 5 teams on the bottom of the Eastern Conference?
Okay, now Eastern, you have Inter Miami, you have Montreal, you have Charlotte, you have Red Bulls of New York.
Okay, so now go to Western Conference. What are the last 5 teams in the Western Conference?
You have RSL, you have Austin, Colorado, LA Galaxy, and Sporting Kansas.
So what does that tell you? Look at the teams in the last bottom of the 4 teams.
But it doesn't really, goes like that, because when listen. When you look at the bottom 5 in the West, Sporting Kansas last season very okay. They didn't make the postseason. LA Galaxy struggled last season too. Austin, I think they're overrating themselves right now because they had a Cinderella run in their second year in the league, going to the MLS Championship game. So now their fans are expecting the team to go and win the title. No, you cannot. You don't have that depth in squad. You have not matured, to that team to really challenge LAFC Seattle for the MLS Cup. You understand? So it doesn't really go to when we go to the Eastern Conference. New York City Football Club won the MLS Cup 2 seasons ago. Tati Casillas won the what? Golden Boot. Nashville, Hani Mukhtar won the MVP, Eastern Conference, and won the Golden Boot. Even though they played in the West last season, but they also prospered from East to West, and Hani won the MVP and the Golden Boot. So it doesn't really go that LAFC great team. LAFC is exceptional. They are the model of the MLS. Seattle, yes, they paved the way for MLS teams to win the Champions League. Now LAFC, I think they will win the Champions League. They will. They have talent. So I mean, both conferences, I think they are par when it comes to winning things. New England Revolution won Supporter Shield last 2 seasons. Philly Union. So I mean, when you look at it, it doesn't really go like that. But it's not the day, man. The 2 conferences, they are very competitive. They got good players, they got good teams, and we're enjoying the best of football here. So, Chris, what will be your last take before we call it a day on this edition of Around the MLS Show?
Well, it's going to be my last take. Is going to be a very interesting game. This week 11 is going to be smoking because a lot of teams are. I think right now the separation of the boys and the men has begun to settle. In Africa, they will say the jungle don't dey mature.
The jungle don't dey mature.
So the jungle is maturing, and
the jungle is getting matured here in the MLS as we go into week 11. And wherever you see your team in this week 10, they're about to get into week 11. That summarizes what your team have been doing in 10 and 11 weeks old MLS. My name is Sam, and thanks for watching Around the MLS Show with Sam and Chris here on Africa Sport Network.
Thank you, guys. See you guys next time.